Alright, people, midweek report time. So, main point, the reason why I wanted to do it today, right, rather than yesterday, was one, because obviously me and Dale, shout out to Dale, we did that stream together, but I knew we'd be having the Fury and Ngannou press conference today, and oh boy, is there a lot to talk about from it. Now, I would start normally with the Fury and Ngannou, something's been said there, but the video of Fabio Wardley, so, not, like, it looks like we're going to get that fight on the undercard, which, to be fair, critique the main event all you want, but that's not a bad fight on the undercard. Wardley versus Adeleye. Two fighters who I've never really been massively high on. Out of the two, I think David Adeleye is the better shout. I think he's just more rounded. I see more miles in him, so he's the one I'm going for. But obviously, Fabio Wardley, he was cut in an altercation. So by the looks of things, I've seen a few videos. I've seen Fight Hub, I've seen boxing, so I've seen a few. And it's kind of difficult to kind of really see what exactly went on. So there was obviously a shove by Adeleye, right, to Fabio Wardley. Now, whether he tripped over something, retaliating, or whether someone from Team Wardley hit Fabio, or from Team Adeleye hit Fabio Wardley, I don't know. But Fabio Wardley went down. There was a big kerfuffle, and he's cut kind of like there, just kind of on the eyelid, right? Which you could, like, how long? Nearly 2 months, so they have probably sufficient enough time for that to be well here. It doesn't seem like a very, very deep cut or anything like that, but it was all fight. It was all action. It really was. Big altercation. So as if this fight didn't need any selling, it's got it now. And, for Adeleye, I think that he's going to look at that and really think, yes, we're in the zone now with this, because that's going to... Wardley hasn't experienced at any really kind of level like this, or even going through an event like this. So I'm sure him seeing that like his team got the better of it will probably give him confidence. He'll probably use that going into the fight. I hope, and this is wishful thinking, it's a press conference. Things like this, it gets out of hand. In the States, they tend to just let it go. I hope we don't see suspensions and fines. We will, inevitably, from the British Boxing Board of Control. When it comes to press conference stuff like that, I just say, like, look, just... unless it's something like someone takes out a knife or something like that, if it's a kerfuffle or something like that, just leave them at it. In the States, they tend to just let that kind of thing go. If it's a kerfuffle and stuff like that, just leave it. Just no suspensions, no fines. And like, obviously, it won't matter for this fight. Well, actually, if it's in the... because I think, yeah. So if it's going to be in the... if it's going to be in Saudi, then I would imagine... correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's going to be in Saudi, the British title won't be on the line. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a rule that I would imagine... it would have to be. It would have to be, wouldn't it? That if the British title is on the line, it has to take place somewhere in Britain. I would imagine that is a rule with the British title. Obviously, if it happens and if it's just the two guys fighting, so be it. But you'd imagine that even though it's in Saudi, they couldn't put the British title on the line. I mean, I can't recall the British title, from my recollection, being defended. I'm sure there are some boxing historians who could probably say there was 1 or 2 times it was defended outside of Britain, but I can't think of any. Maybe in Ireland it got defended there because, common travel area, Britain and Ireland, England and Ireland, it's easy, you can, as I said, like, I'm planning on moving there, you don't need a visa or anything, you just go. Same with someone from the UK coming to Ireland, it's just, you just go, you just change your VAT bracket and that's it. So I don't know if the British title will be on the line, but it's a good fight nonetheless, and it's got a bit of needle. The fight, obviously, with Fury and Ngannou on October 28 will be on TNT Sport, obviously. Frank Warren going to his go-to, the man who he does most of his work with, tried and tested, to be confirmed. Whether it's a pay-per-view price, whether it's in Poland, you can bet your bottom dollar when you hear Frank Warren, TBC is always nearby. In all seriousness, I dread to think what they're going to charge for this pay-per-view. I won't be paying for it, obviously, nor should you. I'll be watching it by other means, as Joe Stunner likes to say, and I think that anyone really should do the same. At the end of the day, I remember saying that when this fight was announced, that, like, realistically, if we watch it by other means, it shows that we're not... well, obviously, you could just not watch it at all. But I said, like, it kind of does show that, you're like, we don't want this. But at the same time, they're probably guaranteed a purse, so it probably won't affect them. But if we did all not watch it, you would see the numbers absolutely flop. And I think that would give Fury, because at the end of the day, it's just, for me, I'm going to go back to it, undisputed. I want to see undisputed. I don't want to see these kind of fights. I think that this is completely farcical. I think the WBC, if they weren't already a disgrace, they're even more of a disgrace because they're putting the title on the line for this. I thought this wasn't going to go on either guy's record. They're putting and they did it for McGregor Mayweather. The WBC really they really don't care. They really have no morals, don't they? Not that, like, they will put a belt, they'll make a belt out of scratch, not call any mandatories for a fight like this, but Dimitri Bivol can't fight for undisputed. Absolutely disgraceful behaviour from the WBC. They really are. Like, that's why I say the WBC and WBA, it's kind of like a tug of war, who can do the worst. But the WBC, for me, will always be the worst, because they make just these stupid decisions that you just look at and think, why? And this is one of them. Now, as for Tyson Fury, he's obviously trying to sell this fight with Francis Ngannou, and I'll quote him here directly. He says, "I'd like to fight Francis Ngannou in a cage. I think I can beat him for sure. He's not a good wrestler. He's known for striking. I'm better at striking than him in little gloves. I'd knock him out in seconds. I'd like to fight John Jones also in a cage if it was the right money." He says, "Obviously, I'm getting paid millions, a hell of a lot of money, and I get millions of people from boxing and MMA who are going to watch it, whether they like it or not. I'm doing it. Guess what? They're all going to watch. Still watch. Okay." Do you know what, right? Like, I think I speak for pretty much every fan when I say this is just a joke at this point. And it is, right? We want to watch Fury versus Usyk. I want to watch the best fight versus the best, And so, the Fury versus, well, it's the best. Shut up. We want to see the best of boxing. You can't turn around and say you're the best heavyweight of this era or of all time and not prove it. You've had 6 world title fights, 3 of them against the same guy. You keep saying, Usyk used to fight his mandatories. I fight mine. You fought one mandatory. You fought one mandatory your whole career, Dylan White. One mandatory. That's it. And the WBC are giving you carte blanche to do whatever the hell you want. They have Deontay Wilder ranked at number 1, who, if they call him as a mandatory, that'd be a 4th fight. He'd fight the same guy 4 times. I reckon if Wilder versus Joshua doesn't happen, they may actually decide to do Joshua as... Literally, right? You're going to get me going on a rant here. But it's difficult not to, as a fan of boxing and a fan of heavyweight boxing specifically, as someone who loves the heavyweight division, who really wants to see undisputed, who I know that there's so many good fights in the heavyweight division. I know there is, and I know it could be popping. I know it could be doing better than it is. And to see, something, especially something like this, the 2 main guys who can't fight, and one of them clearly wants it, and the other guy clearly doesn't, and regardless of what he says, and the fear of us to say Usyk is like Sugar Hill Stewart literally let the cat out of the bag when he said he was going to the UK for Lawrence Okoli, had a plane ticket booked back home. He was never going to train. They never intended to go through with this fight at all. They've been sowing the seeds in this for Francis Ngannou since probably last year. This was always their intention, and it's shameful. It really is. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. I really do. And I can't emphasize it enough, but all I can say is I think it's absolutely disgraceful. And some people would say, would Joshua and Deontay Wilder, because Eddie Hearn has been saying that the talks have slowed, is that the same? And I would say it is, if it doesn't happen and it comes out, because Eddie Hearn's not mentioning Deontay Wilder, I would say that it is the same, and Joshua will be criticised. He definitely will be, because don't promise us a fight and then turn around and say, like, oh, it's not going to happen for this, it's not going to happen for this. If you need more fights, say it. It'll probably cushion it. It's the same with Tyson Fury, if he just comes out and says it, look, throw the WBC belt in the trash and I'll fight this guy, this is what I want to do. Fair enough, that's what you want to do. But don't sell us something and then not go ahead with it, With Fury, I think that he makes these claims. I think at the end of the day as well, you have to remember, Fury makes these claims of being the best. He says he's the greatest of this era, the greatest of all time, etc., etc. And he's done nothing to prove it. And, how does he justify doing this? He says, well, I'm fighting, Francis Ngannou, that proves it. Muhammad Ali did it. Muhammad Ali cleaned his division out twice over, 2 different decades. He was near the end of his career. I think he was at the end of his career. I think he might have beaten Leon Spinks or maybe he was getting ready to fight Leon Spinks by the time that happened. So it was very different. He'd already done everything. Fury, he hasn't achieved a fifth of that. So, that's where we stand with that. In terms of Joshua versus Wilder, at the end of the day, I want this fight to happen. I hope it does. He said they will decide within the next 3 weeks if AJ will take another fight in December. I suspect with Team Joshua, they want the interim fights. They're probably not feeling ready fully in a variety of different ways. And again, if I was Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua, I would just come out and say it. You might play into Deontay Wilder's strengths by making him kind of come out and say, oh, look, he's not ready, and I see he's afraid, However, look at the way this has backfired for Tyson Fury from a PR point of view. And Fury can take a bit of a PR shellacking, which he has over the last couple of months, and still be able to be in the position he is. Right? Now, it's taken a big hit. A lot of his fans have said that. But with Joshua, he doesn't have the same fan base anymore. And I think if he does the same thing, and Eddie Hearn should have learned this from the Conor Benn situation, if you have a bad PR move, it's going to fire back. If Joshua comes out and says, I am not ready, I'm not ready, I need another interim fight. And look, it's not like Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder could still fight. It's not like he can't do anything or he's got mandatory. He's not a champion. He could easily have an interim fight against someone else as well. So it's not like he's holding everyone up. If he comes out and says that, I'd have more truck with that than if they just decide to go and say this and say that and say this. Because for me, it's like, no, don't promise us a fight if we're not going to get it. Before Robert Helenius, it was Wilder next. It was like Wilder, and now it's like, well, let's see. Like, no, please don't do that. Because it's such a great fight as well, Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, I believe anyway. Such an intriguing fight that I really want to see it. This has been a real ranty midweek report. I don't know why. I've had a very good day today. So, I don't know why. I suppose, when you're reading this, it's just like, what the hell? But I've had a very good day, so it's kind of like, it's being real ranty. But yeah, this is the situation with the Joshua Wilder situation. Daniel Dubois' promoter Frank Warren has now officially lodged a complaint with the WBC over the Usyk low blow controversy. He's seeking the result to be changed to a no contest. That won't happen. Or a rematch to be ordered. Again, I think that's unlikely. That will happen. Joe Joyce there. Joe Cusimano, I believe is how you pronounce his name, has now tested positive for a banned substance following his win over Adam Kalnacki. That was on the 24th of June. And again, that was on a Matchroom show. That was on the undercard of Edgar Berlanga versus Jay Quigley. Another failed PED test. Crazy. They're going to turn that, I've heard, to a no contest. Rightfully so. But I don't recall a time I think I've ever seen so many consistent failed PED tests. It's been absolutely crazy. It really has, in terms of just fighters constantly popping. But why are we hearing about it so late? I mean, this was in June. This is over 2 months. It's nearly 3 months ago. Why is VADA, there is a fundamental issue there with the way VADA's, what would you want to say, protocol is. If someone fails going into the fight, or actually this is after the fight, if someone fails after the fight, you let them know straight away. It should be straight away. It shouldn't be 2.5 months later. Just absolutely shouldn't be that. I just don't know what. If this has done anything, it's shown that there's a fundamental flaw in the VADA protocol, and that needs to be changed, as far as I'm concerned. I wonder, when Povetkin failed for Meldonium going into the Wilder fight, that was a VADA. Yeah, that was a VADA test. That came out fairly quick. It was in fight week. It was May 2016. That came out fairly quick. Why is it taking so long for some of them lately? And I'm just asking the question. I'm not insinuating there's any foul play or anything like that. I'm not. I'm just wondering, why is it taking so long now? Or has that always been the case that some take longer than others? I don't know. You tell me. I'm asking the question there. So that's the situation there. I am really, really excited about this fight. Shakur Stevenson versus Frank Martin for the vacant WBC lightweight world title, reportedly now set for August the 16th in Las Vegas, Nevada, or potentially December the 9th in New York City. Deal was agreed. This is being reported by Mike Coppinger. Excellent fight. I look forward to it. Frank Martin is obviously trained by Derek James. There's a rumour mill going around now that Errol Spence is split from Derek James. And, I think that this is a horrific thing that's happening in the sport, where we're judging a trainer now on a fighter losing. And I think that needs to, at the end of the day, like, we shouldn't be judging a fighter realistically, like, over one loss. It's something that needs to die out. But it seems like what's taking its place now is we're judging the trainer for some reason. People saying, is Derek James that good? Derek James, in the space of a year, can go from being trainer of the year to having fighters leave him, and people question him, is he a good trainer? He is a good trainer. Just like most trainers, there's very few trainers I'd look at and say, I don't know how you get these fighters, because you're just not particularly good. Your style that you're teaching them isn't, exactly perfect. There's a lot of technical flaws in them. But, at the end of the day, it might work for some. But there's some trainers like Derek James, others, Shane McGuigan would be an example, where, like, if you're losing, they're like, I need to leave them. Like, why? What's wrong? Oh, well, this happened. People saying Ben Davison after the Lee Wood loss. It's like, why? He got caught with a shot. How was that Ben Davison's fault? He made a tactical error. The coach didn't do it. I don't like it, personally. I don't like it when fighters or trainers are judged based upon a fighter losing, because it's like, oh, the trainer's not that good. No. Like, a trainer could have a career that could span 30, 40 years. And guess what? Fighters are going to take L's in that time. It's going to happen. Inevitably. Multiple L's. But does that mean they're a bad trainer? No. And could that fighter go to a different trainer and look worse, progress? Yes. I think that sometimes it is good to leave a trainer if you feel you've gone as far as he may take you, if you feel that another trainer can add something to your game. But just leaving a trainer because you lost and just kind of using that as I'm not saying that's what Spencer's doing now. Just don't misconstrue what I'm saying there. I'm talking about in the grand scheme of things, we're seeing a lot more of that now come out. And for me, I just don't agree with it. Someone like Rob McCracken, when I looked at him with Joshua, I was like, even before Joshua lost, I was like, Joshua needs to move on from that, because he's really stagnating under Rob McCracken. You could see that in 2017, 2018, right? So when he lost, I was like, okay, you should really leave him, because you should have left him before. It's not a knock on McCracken per se. I'm not saying that he'd be a terrible trainer for everybody, but for just Joshua in his game, he needed something else. Having said that, he could lose with Derek James in his next fight, whether it's against Wilder. And if he decides to carry on, I'd say stick with Derek James. Just because you lost, it doesn't mean he's a bad trainer. You're looking from a technical point of view. I'm liking what I'm seeing with Joshua. I'm just using him as an example. So I think it's something that I hope we see phased out, because it's just I don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't like when I see it. I think it's just some trainers are brilliant. You're going to have an off night with it. A fighter is going to have an off night. They're going to lose. It's not more often than not, it's not the trainer's fault. So I think that's a very bad thing that's been happening lately. I hope it's not the case. Eddie Hearn, on the recent IFL interview, said that he is in talks and will try and make Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. for early December. They're his target dates. Well, we need to know what's going to happen with Conor Benn with the whole UCAD British Boxing Board of Control situation. At the end of the day, that is still something that we need to hear about. I would imagine we're going to hear about it reasonably soon, but we need to know what happens there. Eddie Hearn has also stated that Dimitri Bivol will likely fight on December 2nd or December the 9th. He added that Prograis versus Haney could happen on one of those dates as well. Me and Del, we were talking about Dimitri Bivol in our live last night, and we really had a look at the light heavyweight division. Now, we were just thinking to ourselves, we were like, there's not really anybody there anymore. Kovalev's moved up, Smith, he's already beaten, Zurdo is already beaten, Beterbiev is locked in with Smith. There's not really anybody that, is, you would look at as a viable opponent. Maybe Anthony Yard, but I can't see them taking that fight. You're thinking, who really is there to fight, for Dimitri Bivol? And you're kind of like, I don't really know. And I like Dimitri Bivol. I like watching him, and I think he's a very good fighter. I think he's a tremendous fighter, and I want to see the best of him. And it's kind of a shame, because you're like, well, who is there? And some could say, Dan Aziz, Joshua Buatsi, they're fighting in October. They're not going to be ready, the winner, come December, unless it's a first round knockout for either man, maybe. But they're not going to be ready. Now, we have to tread carefully on this one, all right? Because it's so Bomac right, has been charged. This happened on Monday. He was obviously flying back to America after his fight with Coach Chris Eubank Jr. in his fight. He was found with 2 firearms, right? He's officially remanded in custody. Pre-trial hearing October 9th. He was arrested, and he was arrested as he was about to fly home from Manchester. This was after the fact. Let's quote the article here. It says, at around 10:45 on Sunday, September 3rd a.m., officers were called to reports of a possible firearm being found in hold luggage, by airport staff at Manchester Airport. After initial interception by security staff, GMP officers attended and the arm was seized. Subsequently, a 53-year-old man was taken in custody. I'm just not going to use the word. You just don't want to upset YouTube with these algorithms. For possession of a firearm, and was taken to custody for further question. Brian McIntyre from the United States was charged with possession of a firearm and possession of ammo for the firearm without certificate. Damn. I mean, in the UK, they are very serious about those kind of things. Very serious. You know, I think since the 90s, they've really tightened the restrictions up on them. I don't really want to go in depth on it because obviously it's a very touchy subject. I don't want to trigger any algorithms. But, Bomac could find himself in a spot of bother with that. Big time. Big time. I got a few questions about it. We're not going to go in depth on it, but, how did he get in to the UK if he had it? That just doesn't make any sense to me. How did he get in and it not be seized or found or anything? It just, why would you keep it in your, it just mind blown when you read it. You're like, this is strange to say the least. Really, to say the least. I'm looking at it and I'm like, huh? This don't make, I'm like, what's going on here? So I was reading it a few times. I was like, what the, just don't know. Madness. And that's where we stand with that. Oscar De La Hoya recently gave an interview with Fight Hub TV. He said that actually Ryan Garcia may actually fight O'Hara Davis next. Now, O'Hara Davis, just so you know, was actually signed with Golden Boy, so he is a Golden Boy fighter. Ryan Garcia, I'm not too sure what's happening there, but he says he might be able to get that fight for the WBA super lightweight title, the full version, as Rolly Romero is now champion, or could be made, champion in recess because he's injured. Well, if that's the case for O'Hara Davis, I'd be saying, damn, you might have lost the chance to become world champion, because I wouldn't be picking over Ryan Garcia. I'd pick him heavily over Rolly. I mean, Ryan Garcia, if Rolly is his first defence, he's got an easy win there. I mean, Ryan Garcia, that's an easy win, stoppage win. Have it done in jig time. Have him out of there in no time. Because Rolly he has to be the worst champion in boxing, bar none. He really is. He is that bad. Rolly Romero is just... That's why I was saying O'Hara Davis is going to be world champion if he fights him. And I think that's why O'Hara Davis is pushing so hard, because it's okay, I might not be the best, but I'm better than Rolly. And honestly, if I was Eddie Hearn, I'd be saying, how confident are we in Dalton Smith making money? If we are confident, let's get the checkbook out and get Rolly over here. Or we go over there, vice versa. Because I think Dalton Smith at this right now would beat Rolly. Hell, Adam Mazim could probably beat Rolly at this point right now. The guy got outboxed and hurt by Ishmael Barroso in his last fight and was losing that fight. Ishmael Barroso officially is 40. He looks about 60. Right? So, honestly, anyone should be jumping they should be jumping to try and get Rolly. They really should. But if he's champion in recess and it's Ryan Garcia, harder fight. Harder fight. Much harder fight. In terms of everything else, I think that's pretty much it for Midweek Report this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. There's been a bit of a lack of uploads this week. I apologise for that. I've had a very stressful, very busy week, but today's been a very, very good day. A bit more clarity on things, and we're in a good little spot. So hopefully we'll get... See, it's been I knew this week would be quiet. I knew the 100 subscribers a week for the last 6 weeks was never going to last, because I knew this week would be quiet. So I was like, okay, it's probably not going to be as busy for growth this week, but hey, you never know. Something could happen on the weekend, who knows. But for now, I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Lads, for now, I will leave you with that. I hope you all have a great evening. Enjoy yourselves. Peace.